Brilliant. Good to be back again with you. Just a quick reminder that, everything we're saying here will be online for your information. So a lot of the equipment, I've just been asked a few questions about what exactly was I using to do these interviews, and that will be online, all the names of the equipment and where you can get it from. So that's a help. And then also, obviously, throughout all the talks we've had today, all the presentations, they're also going to be on the Done website as well. Well, we were here last night testing and doing lots of arranging till quite late, and it was a great pleasure, and for that moment, for me, to get to know our next speaker better, and actually have a drink with him and sit down and just hear some of his amazing wisdom. And so I'm really, really looking forward to this next segment of the afternoon. Roland Prince is a branding and communication expert. He comes from a long-standing career within the advertising and communication business. He mounted his first company at the age of 24 and built it up on the regional level. He's now focused on one of his great passions, that's building up startups and investing in the fintech industry. He has founded Retail 212, a retail consultancy business, and works closely with venture capitalists and young entrepreneurs. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a hand to Roland Prince.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. That was fantastic. How was it so far? Good? Great? Okay. Well, you have a good introduction. Greg, thank you. Well, we have a fantastic speaker so far, right? Okay. Now it's a time we talk about the brand and about how you brand your restaurants. And most importantly, why restaurant fails. And when you meet a restaurant owner, he will tell you, well, I will invest in this business, and I know for a fact that this business will last for 3 or 4 years. And if I'm lucky, it's going to last more than that. But this is the span, really, for a restaurant venture, or more if you are talking about nightclubs. So this is the span. Why is it? Why do we have this time frame? Because people get used to it. Or what? They ask for new concept. Well, we're going to go through this notion, and we're going to introduce now. I will start with one quote. Well, nothing's clear here, but this is a quote from Saint-Exupéry, and it says, "It is only with the heart one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." Well, I chose this. Well, it's come from The Little Prince, and my name is Roland Prince, so this is why I chose that. No, basically because what is essential is invisible for the eye. And this applies perfectly when you come to the word of branding. When you want to brand, most of the communication experts will tell you, yeah, well, you get a nice logo, and you have a palette of colors which you have to choose, and you have the right decor and setup, and that's it. That's your brand. Is it? Well, we're going to see. I will introduce now Bob. Bob is a smart entrepreneur. And Bob lives in a city where there are a lot of opportunities available. And he chose to open his own place, a coffee place. But before doing that, he wanted to know what is the secret formula for success. Is there any secret formula within the hospitality industry? Can we really for sure make up a formula for our success and not to fall within the 4 years breakdown parenthesis, if we can say? Well, he gathered around many consultants, communication consultant, hospitality consultant, designer, and all of that, and he came up with the right formula for success in the hospitality business. And this formula goes like this. Hospitality success is equal to a good location, right? You need a good location. And then you need the right environment. After that, you will need a good kitchen. And by kitchen, we mean a good chef and a good set of menu. And you will need also service. We talked a lot about service here today, right? And all of that, you multiply it by a lot of passion. Also a term which we have mentioned several times today. So he thought, well, this is the perfect formula. Well, if I get the right location, and he chose a great location within the city, and he brought in on board the best designer he can find, specialized in hospitality design, and he went on and recruited the best great barista, and he trained his people with a great service, and he poured in a lot of passion. He just abide by his formula of success, and business went up. He was very happy and said, well, I did it. What can I do more? So he got greedy. How can I get out of my business more money? And say, okay, why don't I introduce breakfast? That's an item I can use with coffee, right? So we introduced breakfast. And after that, he said, well, can I get more out of this milky cow? How can I get more? And then he introduced lunch. And after that comes dinner. And suddenly it has become a different concept. From a coffee shop, it serves everything. Well, everybody saw what Bob did, and they wanted to copy the same. Well, Bob is doing a great job. I want something for me. What can I do? So there are other places who opened around the neighborhood. You have a Chinese place, you have another fast food place, and you have another burger place. And they all made good profit until a newcomer came along. And this newcomer is Starbucks. Now, Starbucks, you refuse. Good. So came along Starbucks with big brand, international name, and he opened. Just on the same road of his own outlet. So what happened to his business? Went down. Why? Why you say dog down? Competitor. Okay. The brand image of Starbucks. Okay. What else? Who contradicts this notion? Who contradicts that his business didn't go down? Why? Okay. You would still. You're a very rational person. I'm a loyal. You're a loyal customer, okay. Anybody else think it's the same? Yes? Yeah? They have loyal customer, exactly. Well, unfortunately for Bob, his business didn't go well at all. And he lost clients. And he said, well, okay, if I want to compete, if I really want to beat the competition, this great international competition, I would say, well, all my clients are reasonable people, like you, okay? And I would say, there are some ways I can improve my business so I can still compete, right? And I say, okay, if I take that all people, all my clients are follow a standard rational model of valuation, I can perhaps offer competitive prices. I can lower down my price. This is an option. Okay, if the coffee at Starbucks costs $10, my coffee I can put it at 8. Maybe this could help to bring back my clients. Or I can increase the quantity, offer more. Huh? Bigger, exactly. Offer more value. Or I can change the kitchen, I can change the chef, I can change the menu also. All this so I can become more competitive. Or even though I can introduce new item on the menu and all of that. Well, he tried them all, and guess what? His business closed down. And he realized that there is something missing in this formula. What is it? Why, if we gather all these elements, we can always fail in the hospitality business? Why? What really makes any business fail or strive? Service, yes. What else? Word of mouth and reputation. What else? We mentioned before that the people, our people, are the essence, right? And then we said, okay, there are clients, and we were really challenging which comes first, clients or service. Okay? Both are very important, right? Both of them are very important. Well, basically what we found out, that in any business, in any industry, the main reason for failure is when your clients stop buying your product. You fail when your people don't go to your restaurant anymore. That's it. Even if you have the best marketeer, even if you have the best service in town, even if you have the best decorated outlet, if people stop coming to your place, you close, right? Right? Okay. So when we talk about branding, we really need to know why people stop going from one place and suddenly everybody goes to another place. Why do we do that? Has anybody seen this happening here in Lebanon or anywhere else? Okay, where suddenly a very hot place, suddenly nobody's there, and everybody just shift to another restaurant. Why is that? You didn't build loyalty, perhaps. Maybe. Let's invite. The need, excuse me? Demand and offer, perhaps. Yes. Well, basically, the most important essence in that is the decision. People make decision to go to your place. And if we can understand what are the mechanisms behind those decisions, then we can understand how we can influence those decisions and how we can bring back our customer to our place, to our restaurant, or to buy our products. So it's basically a decision. And when we talk about decisions are made in our mind, here, up here. This is where we decide, right? So what makes or break a business is your decision, your client decision to choose your place over another. But our mind is a wonderful engine, but our mind is very tricky. He plays tricks on us. He always plays tricks on us. We think we are rational people, but actually we're not. And I'm going to give you some example on that. We think that we have those years of experience behind us that will allow us to make decisions, rational decisions, but actually we do not make. We're very lousy at making decisions. Very lousy. Let's go through that. Vision. Okay? This is one of the functions of our brain. And most probably we use this function repeatedly all over the day, right? It's the most used function of our brain, of our mind, is the vision. We see all day until we go to sleep. So we must be expert in vision, right? Unless we're colorblind, so that's a different story. So let's have some example. You have this checkerboard, and obviously you have the square A and square B. Now square A and square B, as I see them from here, I don't know, please help me, are different colors, right? One is dark, and the other one is is white. Okay. Well, I will tell you for a fact that square A and square B are the same color. You can see? Is it possible? Is it possible? Well, let's see. Let's take off the checker. Wow. Now let's go back again. Amazing. It's like we haven't learned anything, huh? There's no trick in this, huh? Actually, you can take it, you can cut it out, and you can put the two squares together, and you will see that the same color. So even our vision is not 100% accurate. Another example for that. Which blue dot is smaller, the left one or the right one? Now you will know. Well, actually, they are the same, definitely. So are we really proven to be rational decision makers? If the vision, we cannot trust it, then what about how we make decision every day? Does our brain play tricks on us when making decision? Well, you'll be seriously shocked at some of the mistakes that we make every day subconsciously, which we are not aware of. One of them is the confirmation bias. Then we surround ourselves with the information that matches our belief. The misconception is that as we grow, we gather all this information, and based on this information, we make decisions, and we make rational decisions. Well, the truth is otherwise. The truth is that we only gather information which coincide, which adapt to our own belief, and we totally ignore the rest of the information. So while you think that you are making a rational decision, actually there are a lot of information that you are missing, which will not help you. And we do that repeatedly. Why? Because our brain is built in a way that only gather the information that is important for us. The second one is the frequency bias. Well, this is the case, it is better known technically as the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Well, in this case, it's like when you buy a new car, a new Audi, and you're so happy with it, and then you go into in the city, and you come back and you talk to your wife and say, my wife, I don't know, everybody's buying an Audi these days. Or if you are pregnant, and you come back and say to your husband, well, I don't know, all these women are pregnant suddenly. There is this frequency bias. It's when you buy a new suit or a new handbag, and then suddenly everybody's wearing the same handbag or carrying on. This is the same. This is frequency bias. Another one is the swimmer's body illusion. Here is when we confuse selection factor with results. So should swimmer body is made like this when they select them to compete, or it's after a lot of training that they get this perfect shaped body? This is another illusion. The gambler's fallacy, where we predict odds. For instance, if we are playing roulette and we put on the black, okay, we bet on the black for 10 times, and then we say to ourselves, well, 10 times black, it should be red, right? Yeah? Probability. So if 10 times, if 20 times is black, do you think it's more probable that we get red? Well, basically, we fall into the assumption it's actually 50-50 all the way. It's 50-50 all the way, but actually we fall into the assumption that if we got 20 or 30 times black, so definitely this time, it would be red. And this is another fallacy that we put in ourselves. So, and we have also the Bayer-Stockholm syndrome, where we rationalize purchase we don't want. So let's go back to the decision making. So when we reach this level, when we want to decide what happens into our brain, are we really rational? We'll take this example. This is a famous example by Dan Ariely, who is a social researcher, social behavior researcher. And in one of his books, he pointed out this subscription form that The Economist has put in their magazine. And it goes like, you got the Economist.com subscription is for $59. The print subscription is for $125, and the print and web subscription is for $125. I say there's something wrong in here, right? How come the print subscription and the print plus the web subscription are on the same price? They made a mistake. Well, when they find out, the result of this ad is the following. You got 16% who opt for the first option. You have 0% for, obviously, for the second one, and you have 84% for the last one. What's really interesting is when you take off the middle option, the odds flip. So suddenly, you got 68% opt for the .com subscription, and then you have 32% for the print and the web. What happened here? Why this middle option has turned the odds? Yeah. Okay. So, but why the percentage is flipped? I mean, if you prefer the .com, you should opt for the .com, right? If you are a decision rational maker, right? And if you want the print and the web, and then you should, I mean, the percentage shouldn't change. But the insertion, yes? Exactly. One of the example why we are a terrible decision maker, because we are not capable of making any decision unless we compare it to something else. If we don't have a comparison parameter, we are unable to make a decision. What's the cost of a Rolls-Royce? I don't know, how much? 350? More? Well, if you know that the Ferrari cost, for instance, 350, then the Rolls-Royce should be higher, a little bit higher. So now you have a comparison. You are more sure about the price. And this is how our mind works. Our minds work by evaluating options. And we are unable to make a decision if we don't have that. So fact number one, we make decision based on comparison and the relativity effect. And we are very lousy at making other decisions. Now let's go to the social conformity. So let's suppose you are in a new town and you want to have a bite. You go to the market and there are two identical restaurants and they are empty. So you choose one. So you go to this one and you sit down. And then came along another guy. He goes in there. He saw two restaurants. One is empty and the other one you have just one guy sitting there. Where do you think he will go? We will go to the restaurant where this guy is sitting. And then the third one, the first one. And then everybody is going to the restaurant where the first guy sat. And the other one is not here. Now, you will be amazed to which extent we, as human beings, we are ready to conform. Now, there's a small video here which will give you this extent.
To answer that question, we set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Have a seat and they'll be out in just a couple minutes. Thanks so much.
Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room. Here to explain what's going on in their brains.
Starting at a very early age, when we see members of our group perform a task, our brains literally reward us for following in their footsteps.
When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
Conformity is how we become socialized.
And it's why even this rebel, who wasn't standing for any of this nonsense, eventually joined the ranks. And the only thing more shocking than seeing how easily conformity affects the way you act is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think.
Okay. That's conformity. Now, there is another level of conformity which we call the self-conformity. And this is where it gets more interesting for restaurants, is when we go to a certain place for the first time. For instance, we are used, for instance, to go to Dunkin' Donuts, and suddenly our friends will ask us to go to, again, Starbucks. Okay? I'm sorry, Habib. To Starbucks again, okay? And then suddenly, next time, you go to Starbucks, and then you go to Starbucks, and then you go to Starbucks, and you create this habit. We call this self-conformity. You conform with your own action. So fact number 2, the utmost majority of people follow the herd. This is proven yet over and over and over again. We can hardly resist the temptation to follow other people's action. When you take this concept and put it in politics, you understand why our leaders are like this. So this is rule number 2. Now, we go back to our Bob and his restaurant and the competition. So basically, who's your competition? If I'm in Lebanese restaurant industry, basically my competition is other outlets who are serving Lebanese food, right? Most probably, right? No? Yes or no? Okay. Well, if I'm in the fast food, so basically other fast food restaurants are the competition. If I'm in the Chinese or Japanese, other Japanese or Chinese food are the competition. If I'm a burger joint, and if I'm a coffee house, it is the same. And then marketeers will tell you this is the direct competition, and you have an indirect competition where you have everybody, right? This is the mainstream logic in marketing. Well, I propose to differ from that. Your competition is not here. And if your focus that this is your competition will get nowhere. Your competition is the status quo of your client, is the amount, is the present state of mind of your customers. It's what goes in the mind of your customer. This is your competition. This is what you need to change so you can able to bring people from Dunkin' Donuts to Starbucks or vice versa. You need to understand why your clients are choosing those outlets and what are the mechanisms in their minds that works so they can shift from one outlet to another. And this is called branding. Branding is all about understanding how your customer's mind work. And how do we do that? Well, if we go just here in Mar Mikhael, it's a famous road where you have lots of bars and lots of outlets, all serving the same. Everybody's serving the same. Look at those. There are plenty of choices, plenty of brands everywhere. How do we choose between all this? How do we choose which one we want to spend our money in? It depends, right? On what? State of mind, exactly. It depends on state of mind. Okay, so let's talk about state of mind and let's talk about why people love your brand and how we can work on influencing that. So definitely you have to make a choice. Let's suppose I want to get out. It's an outing, I want to get out of the house with my friends or alone, okay? Automatically our mind functions by cluster, okay? It's very organized and very complex. But for every single thing we want to do, automatically our minds open a cluster. And in this cluster we have boxes where we file things. This is how our minds work, okay? So if I want to go out, automatically the mind open up, okay, fine, here is what you need to do. You can go dine, you can go to a friend's place, you can take your colleagues, work colleagues outside, outing, or you can go to an exhibition, you can have sports or watch a movie. These are the options when you decide to get out of the house, okay? This is the first layer of decision. So once you pick one, let's suppose dining, then another set of layers open in our mind. And this other set is the following. Well, I can go eat Chinese, Mexican, Lebanese, sushi, Italian, burger, and Japanese. And then I will decide, you know what? Let's go for Lebanese. And then when I decide to go for Lebanese, there's another layer. And this layer is, okay, so I can go to Abdul Wahab, Sharif, Babel, Annab, As-Sultan, Ibrahim, Liza, and Dunya. These are more or less with the same category. These are fine dining Lebanese restaurants, more or less. And our mind cannot sustain more than 7. Try it. We cannot sustain in our mind more than 7 brands in one single category. That's it. You have multiple brands. You have thousands of restaurants in Lebanon, all over the place. But our mind can only sustain 7. So if I ask you, for instance, to name the Chinese restaurant in Lebanon, you would say 1, 2, 3, and you struggle for the 4th. The 5th is not very obvious. 6 and 7 are very difficult to find out. And if you try this in any category, if I ask you, name me sports car, what are you going to say? You're going to say, well, Ferrari, Bugatti, Porsche, Lamborghini, and then you struggle for the 5th. You struggle for the 7, 6, and 7. It's always like that. Our mind cannot sustain in one single category more than 7. That's a pretty tight place, huh? If your restaurant is not within those 7, you're out of the market. So branding is all about trying to put your brand within those 7 options that you have. And most probably, we will go with the 3 first option. These are the 3, we call them in marketing, the 3 top of mind. If you recall this term, we call them top of mind. The 3 brands that comes out first. Okay? So you have this 3 top of mind, and eventually you'll choose one of these. Now, each one of us has different set of restaurants with different priorities. But always, always, the first top of mind is our favorite restaurant. Our first top of mind is our favorite restaurant. This is where we are going to spend our money. We are going to spend our money on the first top of mind. And if our friends follow the conformity rule, they will follow me to the same place. And if we elaborate on the self-conformity, then we are going to do this over and over and over again, and this is how you build the brand. Now, advertising, communication, and marketing, they serve as a glue to fix this position in our mind. When we have this fixed position, it will be very difficult not to change. It will be very difficult to let anybody else come in. And there are rules for that. How can you be on the top 3? There are many rules. I'm not going to go through that. It's going to take another hour for that. So basically, branding, it's in the mind of our customer. The success of a restaurant, definitely you need a fantastic place. Definitely you need to create a great mood. Definitely you need to have a great service. Definitely you need the training, and the superb training that Don can offer. It's a fantastic tool that you can use, but do not forget your brand. Restaurants always forget their brands. They remember their brand when they are starting new. I want a good brand. And their investment in their brand stop at the level of a good logo, nice setup of colors, nice design menu, and that's it. There are a lot of effort that needs to be done to really sustain your brand in the mind of your customers. And one of the tools that we use is to be focused. Bob's mistake is that he has diversified his offering. He started off like a coffee shop, and then he went into breakfast, dinner, and lunch. Now he's a full-fledged restaurant. So when you have a focused entity like Starbucks with a great brand notoriety comes in, well, he lost all his investment. This is the number rule, is focus. Anyway. So fact number C, positioning is a mind scam. I'm going to stop here, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Baby, this is what you came for.
Go ahead and hand out those things, guys. Okay, so Roland, you did an incredible job. That was awesome. Did you like that? Yeah, come on, give him a hand.